storm Virginia's school board meeting and start reading pornographic segments from their kids' school books. Shamefaced cowards on the school board have nothing to say. I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is The Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Today, we head back to Virginia. Virginia is in the running with Minneapolis and Los Angeles and New York for the dumbest school districts anywhere in the country. Virginia, you should be so proud. Today, we return again to Virginia, where a lot of stupid stuff continues to happen in public schools, and parents are finally taking back control. So we've had school board members. This is the very famous Loudoun County. It is one of the biggest counties in all of Virginia. It is one of the biggest counties in the entire country. It is a refuge for all these Washington insider snake people who have built their homes there in Virginia so they can drive into D.C. every day and destroy the country. It is incredibly progressive, and they have billions and billions of dollars to spend on their schools, which they have decided they're going to go all in on critical race theory. So what's happened? Actual literature has been removed from English class, and they're reading instead all of these coming-of-age, new-age critical race theory novels about sex and violence and all sorts of things that no kid that young should be reading. Parents had enough. They burst into the school board meeting, and they started reading right back at the school board some of these absolutely embarrassing and pornographic excerpts.
Came home early from babysitting and see her coming out of some car in these tight-ass little shorts, talking fast, telling me she's about to leave me. I grab her by the neck and start punching her. She wanted to be all big and bad, trying to face me like a grown-ass woman. She gonna get beat like a grown woman. She started screaming, cursing at me, and carrying on. I threw her in the closet for a couple of days. She kept on screaming, begging to be let out, begging for water. Every time she made too much noise, I'd walk in and kick her.
Jasper wasn't even my boyfriend, just this dude I did some hacking with once in a while. He was pretty basic library systems, low security, not in my league at all, but he had a big and sometimes a girl just needs a big.
Me and Monday, we did something. We did do something. He took a deep breath. She sucked my I really didn't want it to happen. It just kind of did. Her top lip curled up. She did your homework and you ate her. Is that why you're crying? Because Monday's not around to do your homework no more.
You know, and the sad thing about this is that if we play the actual video, then YouTube and Facebook are going to accuse us of promoting violence. So we can't even really give you the full insight about this. This is what just blows me away. That when this kind of stuff is being read in high schools, no one seems to care about it. But if I try to repeat word for word what is said, Facebook will come after me for being the problem. So it's a shocking world. But why in the world would you have that for ninth graders? And look, if what you want to do is sexualize them, why all the violence? I mean, these are books from Black culture, by the way, too, right? So you're reading books that try to share the Black experience. I guarantee you, if it was some white guy who was beating the crap out of his daughter or his girlfriend and dragged her and put her in the closet, she want to come after me like a grown-ass man, I believe was the quote. There would be so many protests about white supremacy, about the evils of white cancel culture. But for some reason, when you got African Americans engaging in this behavior, it's earthy, it's gutsy, it's edgy, right?
And yeah, so this is, as you kind of could see, they had the book cover there. It's from the book Monday's Not Coming, and Monday is the name of a character. And basically what happens is Monday is missing, and only Claudia, some character named Claudia, is the one who notices. It was the first day of school, and all of a sudden Monday wasn't there on day 2 or day 3, and Monday isn't supposed to be like this. And then that's also all what you just heard was also what's in the book. My question for this entire thing, and you just heard exactly what is written in this book, that ninth graders who are 14 years old, maybe turning 15 that year when they read it, why is it that they absolutely can read that, but Shakespeare is bad?
Yeah, Shakespeare,
why is it
Dr. Seuss.
Why is it that you can read Monday's Not Coming, but it's all these other books that have nothing to do with any of the language they just used or graphic imagery that they just used? Why is that okay and we can't actually have literature that's been going for literally hundreds of years, not 2 years? This was written in 2018, was Monday's Not Coming. Why? We don't know, but that's just the way it is. And these mothers finally had enough, and they said, you know what, we're going to read it right back to the school board, and not just read back what is actually happening in this book. They have a lawyer involved for a harassment suit. Listen to what the lawyer has to say.
They talked about f***ing, they talked about d***ing, they talked about licking. By show of hands, does anyone up here want to talk about that stuff now? Not a single hand, because it's very uncomfortable and we're in a room full of adults. Nobody outside, nobody inside wants to talk about it because they're not acceptable topics. How did we get these unacceptable topics? Well, one, you didn't follow your procurement policies when you bought $1.8 million worth of these trash books. If you had followed your procurement policies, then you would have done a curriculum review where I hope and pray that at least the majority of you would have said, no, we can't read this trash to our kids. Your own code of conduct says that this is sexual harassment. We know it because all of us would be fired from our day jobs if we said this crap at work. This is the definition of a hostile work environment. My kids don't go to your crap schools, but theirs do, and they are filing these harassment suits on their behalf. Thank you for not doing your jobs.
I like it. I like it a lot. And the thing is, we could have just kept playing it and you wouldn't have heard anything because you would have heard silence coming from those school board members. In fact, Loudoun County School Board, all 9 members of them, seems to have not been doing their job for months and months and years, because a lot of them got elected or re-elected in 2019, and they're pretty much all going until 2023, and then they'll probably get re-elected again. But these 9 people have been sitting on the school board doing nothing, not doing their jobs for a long time, because we've had story after story after story about how bad their school is.
I think I just fell in love with a lawyer.
Oh, did you know?
Mommy dearest, I've met the lawyer of my dreams. That dude was all it. Mm-hmm. I mean, didn't you just love that? I mean,
it.
These are all the ways you violated the law, you pricks. And by the way, screw you. You're harassing your kids. I don't have my kid in your crap school, but all these parents do, and we're coming for you. They should hold each member of that school board personally responsible for this. They should be punished. They should have to be paid. They should be reparations fined. They should be fined certain amount of money and put it in a kitty to go buy real textbooks now. $1.8 million you use appropriated from the taxpayers to put these books in without doing any parent read-alongs. Any way this was vetted by anybody but you. You should be responsible for that money. You should be responsible for the replacement of those books with actual books. And as Katie so wisely pointed out, you're telling me we can't read Shakespeare. We can't read the classics. We can't read To Kill a Mockingbird. We can't read Mark Twain anymore. But you can read this kind of crap? Again, that lawyer said it all. And I hope he sues you for everything you're worth, you anti-educational millstone around your neck going someplace really bad when you die, so-called educators.
Well, it's going to be Loudoun County forever and for always because, again, Loudoun County is allowing stupidity and asininity in their school district. And we're going to focus this segment now on the critical race theory that they have. But we're going to listen to a black woman on the topic because I'm a whitey. I mean, I'm female, but I'm a whitey, so I can't say anything because it's critical race theory, and therefore I'm just a racist. So let's just listen to one.
Let me demur. Let me point out that as a white male, I too am not allowed to say anything.
And you're doubly.
While I must be deferential to your femality,
you must.
As a cisgendered mayor, we both can sit back and listen as an African-American woman literally
calls out.
Choose them another one.
There we go.
Choose them another one. Lady, take it over.
CRT is not an honest dialogue. It is a tactic that was used by Hitler and the Ku Klux Klan on slavery very many years ago to dumb down my ancestors so we could not think for ourselves. CRT is racist. It is abusive. It discriminates against one's color. Let me educate you. An honest dialogue does not oppress. An honest dialogue does not implement hatred or injustice. It's to communicate without deceiving people. Today, we don't need your agreement. We want action and a backbone for what we asked for today, to ban CRT. We don't want your political advertisement to divide our children or belittle them. Think twice before you indoctrinate such racist theories. You cannot tell me what is or is not racist. Look at me.
Well, if I were playing the CRT game, I would accuse her of black saviorism.
Oh,
right?
that's true.
Because
You would.
she came riding to our defense, right? Things that you and I, as white middle-class Americans, couldn't say without being branded racist. She just looked you punk asses in the eye and told you. And so the fact that to lefties, her skin, according to lefties, according to the critical race theory that you put into Loudoun County, the color of her skin means everything. The color of my skin means I'm a bigot. The color of her skin means she's a bigot. But the color then of that African-American mom means that she has got the moral high ground. She is intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, and racially your superior. Listen to her and do what she said. Get rid of this curriculum. You and every other school district in this country that thinks somehow rewriting racism as okay because you're directing it at little white kids is acceptable. It's not.
And I like how we end with what she says. She says, look at me, you can not tell me what is or not is not racist. And
right,
then
you
she
can't
says,
tell me.
And I don't think we had this in there. She said, I had to come down here today to tell you to your face that we are coming together and we are strong. And she says, this will not be the last meet and greet, respectfully. And what's interesting is her cadence was so quick, and it's quick because they only allowed her to speak for that amount of time. Otherwise, they will, and that's what all these school boards do, call time because they're not really listening to anything you're saying. They're just waiting for that clock to run out. So you have to say your stuff super quick.
You have an African-American woman who all of this is, let's face it, much more than any other demographic, this is designed for them. If African-American is the chosen reason. Let's not mistake this. This is not about Latinos. This is not about Latinx. It's not even really about the gays and the homosexuals. This is about one race, your critical race theory. It's about rewriting the history and gerrymandering the game so that African Americans are both at one and the same time exclusively victims who at one and the same time are receiving all of the perks of society. And so when an African American woman comes down there and she looks you in the eye and she tells you this, your first response by your own theory, the theory you're forcing on your kids, should be to shut up, to listen, to shake your head, to immediately do whatever she asks without asking any questions. And if you don't do that, and you didn't do that, then you are guilty of something that you are accusing little white kids, 5, 6, 7-year-old white kids of. You are guilty. And the question is, if little white kids get berated, and get terrible self-image because of this, what punishment do we have for you for ignoring the very person you put this critical race theory in for?
And on top of this, let's just remember that this is Loudoun County, and in Loudoun County, they actually have a good people list and a bad people list. And this mom is going to get put on the bad people list because there is a formal group on Facebook, a 624-member private Facebook group that is called Anti-Racist Parents of Loudoun County. And they have in this group named parents, and they've basically named the parents who are not wanting critical race theory, so good parents. They've named them, and they've plotted fundraising efforts and other offline work to get these parents.
And destroy them, yeah.
Exactly. And some of they've found out through research, I guess, that some of these people who've been using pseudonyms are actually basically part of the swamp. They're part of the affluent from D.C. who are trying to basically get into turning all of Loudoun County into the way they want it to be. And it's actually been some school staff members and, of course, elected officials, because that's what the swamp really is, elected officials.
Now, like one last time, throw the picture of that school board up there. And I don't see any African Americans up there. I see a lot of people who there may be some interracial going on there. There may be people who clearly aren't white. Far too many blondes and highlighted. Far too many of what you say is white supremacy. What we had to listen to you all the time about what Karen looks like. You got a Karen sitting on your board. You don't have an African American woman. You've got to fix your house before you can pretend to clean the house of American elementary and middle schools. It is outrageous that with all of your wealth and privilege on that school board and all of the way that you are destroying the minds of young people and their educations, the more you won't listen to a woman like that.
And just so everyone's aware, those people represent 94 schools, 84,000 students, 12,000 teachers and staff members, and they are in charge of a $1.3 billion budget.
At least 3 white men and at least 3 white women on that committee who turn around then and expose little white children to the worst kind of racial dominoes, the worst kind of racial, it's something out of the Manchurian Candidate, what you're doing to these kids. And an African-American woman shows up and sides with suburban white moms against you. Go pick another career for yourself, because the one you've got is about to be over.
You know, if we can't be in Loudoun County, we might as well be just one little county over in Fairfax County, where they are also quite racist. And now we have an Asian mom who is standing up to their school board.
Dare we say a tiger mom?
I was going to say a tiger mom, but I thought, obviously, that's racist of me to say. So, a tiger mom, who actually also is a former writer, I think was it Wall Street Journal? Might have been for the Wall Street Journal. She's a former writer, so she knows what she's talking about
now,
here.
To go back to my thesis, right? No, finish your point.
Okay, well, I was just going to say that she's fighting back against all this wokeness,
Yep.
and she stood up in front of the Fairfax County School Board to
Also
speak.
in Virginia.
Yep, right next to Loudoun County. And she's basically, let's just roll the clip and then we'll talk about it.
What she did is basically what the African-American woman did in her own way, but she, not being the chosen demographic of African-American, being simply an Asian-American, that's as bad as being white in this culture,
And she's
isn't
an
it?
immigrant,
And
too.
an immigrant. And watch how she gets treated.
And now I sit here listening to this empty proclamations and declarations that you're making about your great value of Asian Americans. You tell us about you going, Melanie Marin, to a Japanese restaurant. Well, do you know that just a few weeks ago in social emotional learning at TJ, our students were told that if they do salsa dancing, it amounts to cultural appropriation, and that they needed to check their racism, and that is our mostly minority, mostly Asian students. And so your empty proclamations are just that.
So that was Asra Nomani. So she is a former Wall Street Journal writer and an immigrant. And so she's talking about how she actually went up in front of the school board. This is not her first time. She went up in front of them back in June, and she spoke to them, and she said at the time that she wanted to know that there are activists at, what is TJ, when she says TJ, Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology, and her son is a senior there. She said that they're talking about the Occupy TJ movement, and that you're getting told by all these activists that it's cultural appropriation for salsa dancing, but the school board is sitting there saying how woke they are and how, hey, I went and ate at a Japanese
how is
restaurant.
That not cultural appropriation?
I mean,
how do I prove
I had some Japanese food.
How do I prove that
Prove how
I
woke I
am a
am.
crusader for Asian rights? I had the teriyaki salmon. And you know what?
Was it good?
I tipped the Asian waiter. Ordinarily, I tip 15%. But the waiter was Asian, and I gave him 20%. How's that for social justice bona fides, America?
You are woke beyond. You're appropriating that culture properly.
We love you a
And
long
they're-
time.
She did continue in her speech. She said, and then Karen Keysamora, who is a black school board member, by the way, promoted the idea that we were racist. So the Asians, so now it's black versus Asian. Minorities
there
are fighting.
Black activists, the social justice crowd now. We actually did a show on this about a month ago about how Asians get by faking whiteness.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, the reason Asians are successful is not because they work harder or they try harder or the moms and dads really force the kids to take serious school. No. It's because they want to be part of the white majority. Has nothing to do with hard work. This is what the left-wing activist arm of the African-American struggle for just justice have to say about Asians.
And then Nomani critiqued the survey. There was a survey that was sent out by the Leadership Academy, and basically the board paid $50,000 to have this survey sent out. Just listen to what happens to Nomani at the end.
And then this survey, it's just a loaded survey. And who is it by? Indeed, New York Leadership Academy. And what has that survey done? They've asked us the questions for the
Thank you
contract
for your time.
that you have now signed.
Thank you for your time.
That will allow
Thank
them
you
to
for
spend
your
millions
time.
of
Your
dollars.
time is up, ma'am.
You all
Your time
need
is
to
up,
have
ma'am. Your
conscience.
time has expired.
Yes, you
Your
always
time has
want to shut us
expired.
down.
Next speaker.
Continue to shut us
Next
down.
speaker.
Because that's what you love.
Please.
Yeah, you see
Yep.
that's what the school board does to people who have something to say, people of color. That's what the school board does. That's the power that these educated, completely unfit their job school board members. This is what they're able to do if they're able to do to that mom, imagine what they're doing in the schools to your kids.
And just so everyone knows, that was School Board Chair Riccardi Anderson doing the scolding. And on Fairfax County's school board, they have 13 members. One of them's being a male student that is elected on, but otherwise they have 11 women on that board and one other male.
Yep. Those of you who think the rule of women is kinder and gentler, you clearly know nothing. You clearly know nothing about women. We have dedicated the last couple of months of Instant Classics to those willing to stand up against, and very blunt, from the Mark Twains to the Voltaires of the world, those men who stand, and women who stand up and look in the eye the corruption of government, the erosion of morality, the compromising of our liberties, look in the eye those issues and call it what it is. We've got today, and all of this week, it's H.L. Mencken week. And if you know anything about H.L. Mencken, he can stand in the company of any of those fellas. And the Twains and the Voltaires of the world, here's a guy who was absolutely relentless in his attitude towards corruption. He had no time for fools, which is to say, he had no time for the American Congress. Let's take a few quotes from H.L. Mencken to begin Mencken week. Every election is a sort of advance auction sale of stolen goods. Every time we elect them, all we're doing is electing a new group of people who are going to auction off our own rights, liberties, and our tax money to the highest bidder. Every election is a sort of advance auction sale of stolen goods. How about this? A good politician is quite as unthinkable as an honest burglar. Number 3, a politician is an animal which can sit on a fence and yet keep both ears to the ground, right? An animal that is completely aware, ear to the ground, of what's going on, and yet will still sit on the fence because principle might actually require you to choose one side or another. I like this next one. Democracy is a pathetic belief in the collective wisdom of individual ignorance. Let me repeat that. This is one of the greatest takedowns of democracy I have ever seen. And Mencken is one of the great adversaries of might makes right democracy that the world has ever produced. He knew that the Greeks were right. He knew that the founding fathers were right. This idea, one vote to one man and let the mob rule, is worse in some ways than anarchy. He says, and I quote, "Democracy is the pathetic belief in the collective wisdom, the wisdom of mobs, putting their faith in the individual of the individuals who make up the mobs," right? This is the problem with democracy. If everybody's vote is equal, you are actually skewing the game, because the ignorant, the selfish, the venal, the uneducated, their vote counts as much as the wise, judicious, socially aware man's. Exactly right. Mencken we're going to have a lot of fun with Mencken all week, but one of those guys that stands up to all the folly, and boy, is America a target for this, of what's going on now.
All right, just a quick reminder that the best way to access our content is to download our Freedom Project Media app. Simply search Freedom Project in your app store, and when you download it, make sure you allow for notifications. And if you enjoy our content, please consider joining the Patriot Club. Your one-time $99 tax-deductible donation allows us to keep bringing you these stories every day. Simply visit patriotclub.us to get signed up. That's patriotclub.us, and we will ship you, as just a little thank you, our signature tumbler. Before we go, let's show some love to our Patriot Club members. Today, we'd like to give a shout out to Jennifer from San Jacinto, California. Thank you, Jennifer, for supporting us.
And that's our show. For Freedom Project, I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. Until next time, stay educated, my friends.